I don't know how I feel. Was that a different voice for everybody? That wasn't the normal. This meeting is being recorded. Zhao's changing, then the Zoom voice is changing. I don't know what to do. Okay, it's okay. Yeah, so this week for the package quad planning meeting, I was thinking that we could review the current plan for milestone 14.3. And since I'm going to be out, I put together a draft of 14.4. I'm sure it will need to change as we'll get closer, but this way we could at least have an idea of what's coming to. So let me share my screen. Okay. You could see the milestone plan, right? Not the agenda. Okay. So for 14.3, I think for the Haley and Joan for the container registry, I pulled in basically one of the testing issues. I think there's probably one or two more that I should pull in, but you could let me know which ones you think would feel comfortable as a deliverable issue. But I pulled in the simulate failed database schema. There's probably a couple of other those simulate failure scenarios, right?
Yeah, actually, I left a comment there because this one was planned for this milestone. So for the next milestone, we were looking to start testing in staging.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I left a comment below with that information.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll just swap those. That's very helpful. Thank you. And are there any other non-testing issues that you want to see brought forward, or is everything?
There are a couple that are marked for 14.3 that are related to the importer that we do need to get done, but they're not as urgent since the import's not happening for a minute. So we can either reschedule those and prioritize other issues, or we can get those in since they are a little more complicated.
What's your preference?
Yeah, I think we can push those issues forward because they are only really needed for phase 2. We need to do them, but the priority now is getting the testing done.
Yeah, I agree. I'll find those and I'll take the milestone off.
Thanks, Haley. Appreciate that. Okay, moving on into some of the package issues. So really, I'm just trying to focus on, we're trying to focus on SaaS reliability and performance. So I tried to choose issues that were in line with that, but also attempted to move our roadmap ahead as well. So you'll see a heavy focus on the dependency proxy as you're reading through these. The first one is actually related to our error budget. We see high latency scores for the NPM endpoints in the package registry. So scheduling that investigation as a P1, I've kind of brought it in as a stretch goal for the previous couple of milestones, and it keeps getting punted, but I really want our error budget to be 0 would be nice. And so if we can, we're close to it. So if we can, that's the first issue I have. The next one is focused on the TTL policy for the dependency proxy. So we've seen next to some of the numbers in Kibana, how many images are being pulled daily and weekly. It's a lot. So having a policy in there so we don't get into trouble will be helpful.
I did add in that issue, I did some queries this morning and found some numbers that represent like how much space is being taken up and how many images are actually cached. So it gives us a little clearer view.
Okay. I haven't seen that yet, but do you feel like this issue is still important having seen that?
I'm back and forth on it. It's less than 2 terabytes. It's like 1.25 terabytes of images, 3,300 total, I think. So it's impressive that there's like 3,300 total and they're getting pulled like 125,000 times, something like that. But yeah, it's hard to say at what point we need to consider that.
I guess part of the reason I'm thinking about it is we're going to add other registries soon. We're going to add support for generic container registries and probably NPM packages too. So maybe it's better to have the policy in place before we start.
Yeah, I would think so. And does the does the dependency proxy space count towards the group's storage limits yet? Do we know that? I mean, it's just an object storage.
It doesn't yet, I don't think, actually. So that might be another issue to open.
Okay, cool. Because that would certainly create more urgency for certain groups.
Okay, perfect. I'll open that issue today. Okay, so the next one I thought might be useful right now is for the dependency proxy user interface. We don't really show information except for the configuration. I thought it would be helpful to add a GraphQL endpoint that would show image and manifest, as well as some of the other information. That feels like it's going to help as we move forward too with adding other registry support as well. And it's kind of related. This bug has come up for a bunch of customers where they're clicking on the user interface and the configuration isn't loading. So I think these two might be related. The GraphQL query might help us resolve this bug, but I could be wrong. The next one is actually related to the container registry. I think this is the one that's most at risk at the moment. So the group container registry API has and allows you to list all of the image repositories and tags for a given group. And turns out there's one particular customer who will not name right now, but who are using it the most heavily, and it's impacting the latency. We reached out to them. We haven't heard anything back yet. I'll follow up with support. I'm hoping that we hear back this week and we can have some way of remediating this, but if not, this will probably move back a milestone until we hear back from the customer. Since we're talking about the dependency proxy so much, we don't have any user level data for it. We do have a general sense of how many images are being pulled and how many are being pulled from the cache, but we don't have anything that's like that we could add towards our group monthly active users. So it'd be great to start measuring that, and we can see how usage growth grows over time. Kind of this one seems like it's doesn't belong. It's a little bit different, but a few milestones ago we released a feature for preventing or allowing Maven duplicates, but there's a bug that's preventing people from using it where certain types of Maven files are still being allowed to upload as duplicates. So fixing this bug, which has been identified as a blocker for a few customers, to fully adopting the feature. Okay, then I added a test issue. So this milestone, actually 14.2, we had resolving a bug with the dependency proxy and single sign-on. So adding a test for that. So we have a test where it's testing on a SAML instance would be really helpful to make sure that there's no regressions. This issue, continuing to bump up the cleanup policies for historical projects. In 14.2, we bumped it to 20%, and in 14.3, we're going to bump it to 35%. And then continuing on testing package uploads with different storage providers. So testing uploads with GCP storage. We have this milestone 14.2, we knocked out AWS and MinIO. So moving on to Google Cloud. And then two front-end issues. Nico's not here right now, but he's out for a bit this milestone. So we're bringing in two front-end issues, one to display the available metadata for PyPI and the other one for Composer. So right now we have metadata for those package types, but we're not displaying them in the front end. So just doing that would be helpful. I'll pause there before just highlighting some of the stretch goals. And any questions or comments? Nice. I tried to get the stretch goals under control. I didn't realize what a problem I had. I was just scheduling like 10 stretch issues and realizing that maybe that's not realistic. It just took me a couple of milestones for that to set in. So I'm gonna try to keep the stretch goals limited to like 2 or 3, I think is more realistic for everybody. The result of that was yesterday I had to clean out a very crowded milestone 14.4 and 5 to balance it. So for stretch goals, I was thinking any of the work that we can continue on the pipelines for packages. I know David shared something in the issue yesterday in MVC. I'm really interested in this generic package events not being captured with usage ping. We're currently shortchanging our monthly metric probably by several thousand users, maybe even more at this point. So it'd be nice to add that in and get credit for it. And then this is kind of a dogfooding issue that came up where the job token doesn't have access to internal packages. And this would help the unblock the secure team, which is using the generic package feature. Yeah, and then on the noteworthy community contributions, I still have Debian support for Debian in here, which I think will continue into next milestone potentially. And I know that we still had the instance level NuGet endpoint that we're working on and refining some of the queries for. So
for Debian, I commented below, but it's ready for rollout. I think we're just trying to find time to do the feature flag rollout. And it seems like this one might take a little longer than the usual feature flag rollout, which is why we haven't done it yet. So it might be just worth scheduling that within the milestone to ensure we make time for it.
I like that. Okay, so yeah, then we'll just plan on Debian support in 14.3.
Cool.
Okay. And any questions or comments? Can move on to 14.4, just a quick overview, if not. Okay, so 14.4, I tried to just keep it minimal, just get so we have an idea of what's coming, because usually it's pretty dynamic from month to month. But I did bring forward 2 confidential security issues. These are like P3s that we need to work on. And then the dependency proxy workhorse migration implementation plan. So the create source code team is working on the workhorse portion in 14.3. So we'll have to work on the Rails portion in 14.4. Another reliability issue is allowing object storage acceleration from JSON encoded body, which basically says allow NPM packages to be accelerated with workhorse. That was identified as another important reliability improvement. Bumping the cleanup policies to 70%. We have a dependency proxy bug where they fail to pull from Docker Hub on EC2 instances. Finishing up the package UI change to use GraphQL instead of Vue. And then extracting NPM metadata. And then 2 improvements to the container registry user interface. And then have some stretch goals there. I'm sure we'll need to add the container registry testing on staging or migrating to prod at that point, depending on where we're at in the schedule. But I think we could add those as we get a little closer.
I think that number 2 up there, the object storage for the JSON encoded body, I think that might end up being very much related to the P95 for NPM. Like that might resolve a lot of those longer queries. That's just kind of speculation at this point, but thought it was worth mentioning. And then for the dependency proxy workhorse plan, I did want to mention, like, as soon as the other team has kind of decided which path they're going to take on how it's going to be implemented in workhorse, we can do this at the same time. We don't have to wait for them to be finished at all. We just have to know which direction they're going to take.
Okay, yeah, I went on this one, the NPM front. Do you think I should swap the issues then? Kind of just assume that this will handle the investigation?
Maybe not yet. Maybe because that's kind of a little bit. It's like I think that's true, but maybe I'll look a little closer before I say we should switch it.
And the investigation will help to identify a solution, how we'll do it.
True.
Okay. I think I haven't seen too much action from the workhorse portion of the work yet. But yeah, if we're midway through the milestone and they're done, I think we could swap something from 14.3 pretty easily. Cool. I'll stop sharing. Anything else to add? Or Sophia, you were quiet today. Usually have some changes for me.
And yeah, I do. I just noted in the 14.3 issue, and I will add the testing for the 14.4 milestone because it's not there yet. So it's something that, yeah, for tomorrow, it will be done.
Okay, great. All right, well, I'm excited for the next couple of milestones. I'm writing the release post now for 14.2, and we definitely have a bunch of cool features coming out, so it's very exciting. Yeah, I'll stop the recording and end the meeting if there's nothing else. I'll say thank you. Bye, everyone. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.